Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. So my name is David Dillner, and I'm the city manager, and this is Things to Know, what's happening in El Dorado. So you caught me kind of sending out an email for the interview panels. Of course, by now the interviews have been completed for the police chief, but nonetheless, I thought I'd take a moment to kind of talk about where we're at in the process and kind of explain how that process will transpire from here on. So the first thing is, we had our interviews, a very rigorous process, on Thursday this week. We interviewed 4 candidates, and the interviews went very well. We'd like to thank all of the people on the interview panels that participated to enable us to gather information about each candidate and really understand what the community's thoughts were with respect to each candidate. I'm going to take all that information now and review it and then create a decision based upon all of the information that's been gleaned from that process. So it's very important that we put the candidates through a very thorough process. So I thought I'd take a moment to very briefly describe what that process looked like. Well, we had a couple of interview panels comprised of members of the community. So we had two community interview panels. We also had a third interview panel that was really comprised of our county attorney and our municipal prosecutor and our current police chief. So those folks answered or asked a variety of questions kind of on the legal side of the equation. And then we had a fourth interview panel comprised of students from El Dorado High School so that we could get our youth engaged in the process and really figure out a way to get their input in the police chief position as well. So we'd like to thank all of those people for participating in the interview process. Without their input and a lot of time involved in that process, we wouldn't be able to get the input that we need to make that decision. In addition to that, we also had the candidates do a writing exercise where they had to answer a couple of questions in a short amount of time. And we also had a media exercise where the candidates were thrown a scenario and they had to quickly comprise a press conference with questions from media participants. So we want to thank those folks as well for trying to engage the candidates from a media standpoint to find out which one can really think on their feet and address situations when we have a potential crisis. Although we don't hope for one of those things, we need to make sure we have the right candidate that can respond at the right moment with the right information. Let's see, what else did we do? We gave the candidates a tour and we provided an opportunity for a meet and greet with the community at large. So again, if you participated at all in this process, we'd like to thank you for your participation and for your input, as the police chief is a pretty critical, important position for our community, and we want to make sure that we get all of that input from all the participants so that we can make a really good, informed decision. Now, some people may wonder kind of how that process is made from here on. So I'd like to take just a minute real quick to kind of talk about that. Well, as city manager, one of my job duties is to hire the department directors of the city. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take all of the information gleaned from this process and I'm going to review it. And I'm going to think about which candidate I believe will be the best person for the position. On a couple of different fronts, really. I'm going to look at it from the department's perspective. I'm going to also look at it from the community's perspective, and I'm also going to look at it from a management's perspective. Now, before this whole process started, I engaged numerous groups to get information about what they thought the police chief position needed in order to be successful, including the department itself, department leadership. I also talked to numerous community groups throughout the community to ascertain their thoughts and perspectives on what would make a successful police chief for El Dorado. So I'm going to take all of that input as well as the input received from the interviews, and I'm going to try to figure out which candidate best matches the community's expectations and needs so that we can have a continuing conversation with that candidate. In addition to the interview process, I also met with each individual candidate and asked a few questions of my own to get a feel for how that person will react under different circumstances as well. Then what will probably happen is I will reach out to one of those candidates that I think is the best person suited for the position, and we'll start talking about what the position will look like, maybe make a final offer, negotiate final terms, and hopefully get an offer accepted so that we can have the next police chief announcement relatively soon. Now, Chief Zeman doesn't retire until April 1st, but in the meantime, the person that's selected may have to let their current agency know that they're going to be leaving, or maybe they have to finish up some different things. So we'll see how that goes as we move through this process. So with that, I'll be sure to keep you all informed as to how that process is moving. I hope that it doesn't take extremely long time after the interview process is completed, but you never know. We also have to do a background check, and we have to close up any loose ends on that front before we can make a final announcement. But hopefully it will be a short time after the interview process is completed. So that's kind of where we stand on the interview selection process. Stay tuned for more things to know in the future to find out where we stand and to get updates as we move forward. Well, Monday is also a holiday of sorts, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So as a result of that, city offices will be closed. So we're going to have a couple of service changes that you need to be aware of. The first of these is with respect to trash. Now, you might have gotten one of these handy-dandy trash magnets in the mail. It talks about how the trash schedule will be changed throughout the year based on holidays. While it won't stick to your wall, it will stick to your fridge. So when you get this thing in the mail, make sure that you take it out, put it on your fridge, and refer to it to find out when your trash schedule might be changed. For next week on Monday, if your trash was going to be picked up on Monday, next week it'll be picked up on Tuesday. And if your trash is normally picked up on Tuesday, next week it'll be picked up on Wednesday. The trash for the rest of the week will be normal. So again, Monday trash on Tuesday, Tuesday trash on Wednesday, and that will be the change for the week. The City Commission will also be meeting next week. However, they will not be meeting on their normal Monday meeting day. They will be meeting on Tuesday evening. So if you're interested in what the Commission is discussing that day, make sure you tune in on Tuesday, not on the normal Monday. They will be meeting at 6:30 right here at City Hall, but it will be on Tuesday. Well, that's basically all I got for this week on Things to Know, what's happening in El Dorado. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and have a great weekend.